Good morning. It's just after 11:30 on the 20th of October, and it's about 18 degrees here in Halifax. Unseasonably warm for this time of year, but you know, it may be a little too warm actually. I think I like it a little cooler. But I'm going out for a hike today, an area that I have frequented a number of times. Haven't been here in about 6 or 8 months. It's in the Fox Lake area of the Blue Mountain Bushcraft, or Blue Mountain Birch Cove wilderness area. Just want to see what's different this time of year. And that's the beauty of coming out on a fall day. It has to be the most beautiful time of year. Not just because the leaves are changing color, and hopefully I'll be able to capture some of that on camera for you, but because, well, there's no flies. It's usually not quite as humid as it is during the summertime. A little cooler temperatures. I get hot anyway when I'm hiking, but you know, it's a little bit better this time of year. Yes, the days are getting a little shorter, but that's okay. There's lots of hours in the day yet to get out and explore and go for a good long hike and still be out of the woods by dark. Unless, of course, it is your plan to be in the woods overnight, which I hope to do shortly again. Yeah, I'm just out doing a little foraging. Still looking for a few medical mushrooms, a few other edibles. Most of the mushrooms, the boletes and other mushrooms have gone now, but I am still finding some turkey tail. I'm still finding some birch polypores. Even those are starting to get a little old. But I'm scouting out to see if I can find any chaga that I can mark location of and then go back for during the winter months. Other than that, just out for a day in the woods. Come along, let's see if we can find anything interesting to see. At least I'm sure I can show you some of the fall colors. Alright, stay tuned. So I've been in this area a few times, and I think I've shown this on video 1 or 2 times. It's an area near Fox Lake known as Coyote Bog, and some of the locals here have made some plywood coyotes, and I'll see if I can't capture them on camera again. This is for people who may not have seen some of my earlier videos. But the reason I'm stopping here, and I know it doesn't look like a really true bog, there's an awful lot of small, well, that's true of bogs, small stunted trees because of the acidic nature of the bog, but what I often find here is Labrador tea. Now, there are other areas where I can find it more prevalently in bigger plants, but there is Labrador tea all through here. So I'm just going to take a little walk in and find a little Labrador tea. And we've had some rain, so understandably the bog is wet. You know, this is much easier when the ground freezes up to do this, but it doesn't look like it's going to happen anytime soon. So, I was just looking at some a minute ago, getting in a little further into the bog here. Now, just before I find, oh, there's some Labrador tea, good. Just before I focus in on the Labrador tea, I also want to focus in on the sheep laurel right here. And I've shown this in other videos, how sheep laurel can mimic the look of Labrador tea. So right there, here, here, and then right in between them is Labrador tea. And we can confirm that by turning the leaves over. Now this time of year they've gone from white to the classic rusty colored, but that turned over margin of the leaf and the real fuzziness is a true telltale sign. Now there's next year's blossom, look at that. Very nice. So turn over some of the one right next to it, so you can see right next to it is the sheep laurel. By the way, the sheep laurel is poisonous if you make a tea out of it. It's also known as lamb's kill. But you turn it over, it doesn't look anything like the Labrador tea. So just make sure when you're looking at it, you turn the leaves over and get that confirmation. Don't try to make the sheep laurel fit the boxes or tick the boxes for you. So if you're having trouble finding Labrador tea and you think you have it and you're not sure, turn it over. If it doesn't have that orange, here's some more. Underside, it's not Labrador tea, don't take it. Now I'm going to take a little bit, just harvest a little bit. I might make some tea out of it today for my lunch. But also I just wanted to add to my winter supply, if you will, of Labrador tea. But as I've mentioned before, and I'm sure everybody knows this, but it's always worth mentioning again, be conservative in your harvesting. So if you find a plant, and if you follow a plant down, you'll find a lot of it comes off of one root. And just take a little bit off of each plant. Go to the next plant, take a little bit off of that. It's a slow growing plant. It doesn't spread like a weed, and it can easily be overtaken by, well, the sheep laurel is what's the most of here. So if you want to have some for next year, just take a little bit this year and you'll be assured of having some in the future. Alright, I'm going to pick a little bit of this, put in my forage bag, and we'll continue on. And there are the resident coyotes of Coyote Bog, quite a ways into the back of the bog there. Do you know, this is such a common sight in at least this part of Nova Scotia, in the areas that I walk, that I don't even give it much thought, but I thought it might be of interest to people who aren't familiar with seeing these in their areas. And it's this rock formation that we have right here, a granite rock formation, just coming right up out of the earth. And I'll climb up on it. I just walked across it a second ago, but let's see. And these are referred to as whalebacks. It just has the look or the image of a whale, big gray whale breaching out of the water. So that's, I thought you might find this interesting. And if you look at the rocks, you'll see these scored grooves, and yes, I'm in my own shadow, see if I can't fix that. You can see these scored grooves, and these are the result of the glaciers as they retreated across North America into the ocean. And they carried large rocks with them, and of course they just dragged it, and they dragged all the soil off of the land here, and as they dragged the rocks across, this is what you get a lot of. Now some of these could be fractures in the earth as well, but most of them are drag marks. And there's an example of it just decided to deposit a rock here because it started to melt. So you'll have rocks just randomly scattered throughout the woods like this, and that is just glacial rock drops. So this is a whale's back. Hope you find that interesting. So I just found my way down to a new spot on the shore. Not a real marked path at all, but obviously people have been here before. Create a little fire pit, which is kind of cool. What a nice little spot. I expect it's probably people who get down here to do fishing. And what I wanted to show you here was the change in the leaves in the forest. Now there's another spot I'm going to go to up on a height that I'm looking down over the same lake, but right now I'm down at the lake shore, obviously. And I'm facing south right now, more or less into the sun, and yes, I probably have you all whited out with the sunshine, especially off the lake. But the reason is as the winter, or as the fall comes on here in Nova Scotia, late summer into the fall, there's a distinct change in the wind direction, and it is a bit of a breezy day today. And where during the summer the wind is out of the south, off of the sea, and usually quite humid, come winter it comes directly out of the north and is usually much drier. So I am going to turn into the north, because that's where the majority of the leaf change is right now. But before I do so, I just wanted to point out there's going to be a lot of wind noise. Now the other thing I wanted to say is we had a very, very dry summer. In fact, there was a fire ban on most of the summer, and I didn't check today to see if there's a fire ban, but I wouldn't doubt that there still is, although I think that may be over for the year. So the leaves did not reach their full potential in this area as far as color goes, but still beautiful on this mid-October, well, now it's afternoon. So I'll turn to the north and give you a glance, and I apologize now for the wind noise. I may actually settle down and have lunch here. I'm not sure. I'm going to explore a little further before I do, though. Okay, talk to you soon. There's some fat wood. A lot of work to get into this knot, but it's nice, bright orange, hard as a rock, right under that old rotten exterior. You're passing by a downed pine tree and it looks much more rotten than it is. That's the reward you have just underneath the edge, especially in the knots where the branches come out, and that's where the sap resides and hardened up. Yeah, a little bit for my fire. Okay. Nice and hard. Looks like maple. should be enough. What am I missing? A couple old shavings. Okay, underway. Top down burn for my Lixata wood gas stove. All dried maple hardwood that I split out just to make sure it was dry on the inside. A little bit of fat wood and birch bark stuffed down the center and through a few of the layers. And then once I lit the birch bark on top, added a few more shavings of hardwood here, but I think I'll throw a few more shavings on. And that's hard. See if I can find some dry twigs. But the flame is starting to go down through. It'll take a few minutes for that to burn down where I can put the lid on and get my water on. But I'm in no rush. Beautiful afternoon. We'll just sit and enjoy. Alright, I'll bring it back when it's time to put the water on the stove. Okay. Now that's one of the things I like about these little gasification stoves. Took a few minutes for the sticks to catch on and that top-down burn, but once they do, it's almost maintenance-free. I mean, you don't walk away from it, but you don't have to sit there constantly feeding little sticks. The trick is to get just the right amount in the chamber and not too tall that you can't get the pot stand on after the sticks get going, which was my challenge this time. I had made them just a little bit too tall. But what you're looking at is not smoke, it's steam from my pot, which is boiling hard. And that's the nice thing about these little stoves as well, is that they're virtually, if they're working efficiently, smoke-free. My water's boiling well. Time to get some lunch in there. And lunch today, oh, that's not lunch. Is this lunch? This is lunch. Lunch today is a simple homemade dried meal. Started out life as a, what was it? A Norris Sidekicks, one of the teriyaki sidekick noodles, not a rice base. But then I added a soup base to it. I think it was a, not sure what kind of soup base it was, a spicy soup base anyway. And some dried onions and a few other things. It's not instant, it won't rehydrate, well it could actually rehydrate and just in the water, but I like to simmer it for a few minutes. Now let's get that in the water. Save the bag. What's nice now is the fire is not dying down, but it is slowing down a little bit, so I don't have to worry about a hard boil boiling this over the top. Yeah, that's nice. I put the lid on, give it a couple minutes, and she'll be ready. Save a few sticks here for coffee. Nothing fancy today, just probably an instant coffee. I know that sounds like heresy, but I've been on the trail for a while and I've got quite a bit of hiking left to do, so I don't want to spend all day making coffee today, just a quick one. It's actually a little warm for coffee, but no, that's not true. It's never too warm for coffee. It's always the right time for coffee. Okay, I'll bring you back in a few minutes when this is ready. I'm ready to eat. We'll talk for a bit. Oh, this is nice. 20th of October. I just checked the temperature on my backpack thermometer, and I expect it's not really accurate, but 24 degrees Celsius. Oh man. Do you know one of the dangers in having temperatures that high this time of year is there's another bloom of ticks that takes place in the fall. And if you don't get a freeze, there's nothing that kills the ticks off. So, ooh, that's hot. I need something to hold under that. There. Use number 112 for your bandana. Holding your hot pot from below to keep from burning your hand. So here's what lunch turned out to look like. And get up there. The noodles all cooked up, rehydrated fried onions, and the soup base. Don't think I have to add anything to make it spicy either. Let's try it out. No, I don't have to add anything to make this spicy. Oh, is that ever good? Hot. I have my pot back on, just throw a few more sticks in the Lixada stove there. Heat up for my coffee. 2:30 in the afternoon. I'm looking directly at, well, not directly at the sun, but the sun is directly at me behind the camera. What a beautiful day. I had no real agenda when I came out today. I did find a little bit of turkey tail. Not good quality, but I found some turkey tail. And I found some Labrador Tea, add to my collection for the winter. Just exploring a few new sites. The trail that I'm on, and actually the spot that I'm in, is a fairly well-used trail, especially by dog walkers during the week. Now, I haven't come across anybody here today in this area. And the spot that I'm in specifically, I've been here before, is known as Nellie's Brook. Somebody's erected a little bench here, a little fire pit on top of a flat rock. There's a brook right there where I can get my water, and it's actually the only brook on this trail without bushwhacking my way down to the lake. So it's a great place to stop and have lunch. I did bushwhack down to the lake, a few side trails, and found some great spots that I'm likely to go back and visit. In fact, they may be great camping spots. I've been looking for somewhere not so far that I can't get there in a reasonable amount of time, but a place where I can set up a camp. Not a semi-permanent camp, but maybe just a quick shelter, like a lean-to that I can throw a tarp over, a bed of some type, that a couple of rails that I can put my mattress on. I think I may have found some of those spots. I don't want to be where other people are coming, and I think where I got down to the lake edge, it was pretty much isolated. It would only be the fishermen. Of course, now we're outside of fishing season. We are in a wilderness area, so hunting is permitted in this area. However, because the number of dog walkers, I did see a couple of rabbits today, but because of the dog walkers, nobody's going to be hunting deer in this area. Speaking of turkey tail, I learned something yesterday, and this is a bit of an update on my cancer. So it's been just over 2 months since I had the surgery. I've been getting back into the woods fairly regularly now. I haven't always been taking the camera. Sometimes I went with my wife and sometimes I went with my daughter. And a few weeks ago I went with, or actually just a week ago, I went with a bunch of the guys from the Nova Scotia Bushcraft Association. Man, was that ever a lot of fun. We spent the night deep in the woods in one of the other wilderness areas. I took the camera, just didn't turn it on, just didn't feel it was what I wanted to do those days. But yesterday I had a meeting with the nurse practitioner and doctor for the oncology unit here in Halifax to discuss chemotherapy. And it's interesting, I've had a number of people message me, reach out to me to talk about chemotherapy and whether or not I should even be taking it. It's not without its risks, it's not without its side effects. It's not that it's dangerous, although some of my friends do believe it is. The chemicals that they use are known as cytotoxins. They're intended to kill cells. That's what their duty is to kill cells, specifically cancer cells. So there is some side effects to it, and I'll be starting that next week. But there were 3 courses of chemotherapy that I could choose from, one of which, even though it's considered the most effective, I wouldn't have got out into the woods at all. 48 hours on IV every 2 weeks with side effects that include no cold whatsoever. No, that's not my lifestyle. I have to be able to get out into the woods during the winter. And that'd be for the next 6 months. We'll see what happens. I don't expect that I will have all the energy and all the health that I have now. But I hope to. But what I learned about turkey tail is, now, I have talked about having turkey tail as an adjunct to the chemotherapy, along with any chaga that I might have, and along with birch polypores and any of the other medicinal mushrooms. A lot of the shelf polypores that grow on the trees all have medicinal qualities. I thought, why not ask? You know, would they be honest? Would they actually tell me what has value and what doesn't? I also asked about a few of the other more common or the more current thoughts on diets and the like for cancer. So I asked about turkey tail, and they said absolutely not. They knew this. It's become very popular, and they said it's because of its antioxidant qualities that it cannot be taken during chemotherapy. Outside of chemotherapy, they felt that it may have real value in boosting and modulating your immune system. But within chemotherapy, it'll kill off the chemotherapy itself. It'll fight the chemotherapy. Interesting. At least they knew. They didn't dismiss it out of hand. They researched it. They had heard of chaga. They had not heard of birch polypore. But they do have a research team that will go into the literature and see what's there. What more can I ask? They said at the very least, the cycle of way this chemotherapy works is I have chemotherapy for 2 weeks and then 1 week break. And they said you'd be free to take whatever you felt during that week break, but let us research chaga and birch polypore before we recommend taking it or not taking it during the chemotherapy. I couldn't ask for any better consideration than that. Anyway, I thought I'd bring you that update. My intent is, I gotta put a few sticks in my fire. My intent is to continue getting out into the woods regardless. Even if it's a limited walk in the woods, it'd still be worth my while for my mental health as well as my physical health, and to bring to you what I find in the woods. Alright, I think my lunch is cooled down enough to eat now, and then I've got to put a few more sticks on my stove so I can have my water ready for coffee. I'll bring it back at coffee time, and then it'll be time to pack up and start heading back down the trail. Alright, stay tuned. I don't know if it can get any better than this. Perfect temperature, perfect humidity, not a cloud in the sky. There's a good breeze, but where I'm at in the woods here, yeah, it's very light. Little babbling brook off to my side. Hot cup of coffee. Different from my normal brew, but quite tasty. Thought I needed something sweet after my lunch, so I have in my bag I carry a few things like hot chocolate and some of the coffees, the Jiva coffees. I carry those when I'm looking for something sweet. But this is a pumpkin spice latte from Starbucks. Instant. It's called a Via. If you're looking for something that's sweet and tasty, but it's still a coffee, something like a dessert coffee, you're not paying $5 or $7 for in the store, a pumpkin spice latte in October. Somehow that seems really appropriate. Especially as I drink it out of a purple silicone mug. You know, I have a Sea to Summit set my daughter gave me one year for Christmas, a plate, a bowl, and a cup. The plate I don't take out too often. I don't usually prepare full meals I need a plate for, but the bowl and the cup, they fit so flat. They're very light, not very traditional looking, but very effective if you're trying to lighten up your load for the day. I do like my Cookses, like my wooden bowl, like my wooden spoons, love them. But sometimes something new is not always bad. I have to tell you, if I wasn't drinking this coffee, I'd probably fall asleep here and roll off this 8-inch wide bench. It's that nice out. So what's coming up? I have something, well, I've got a few projects. I have projects set aside for those days when physically I'm not able to go out into the woods. Some ideas that I've been holding on to for a while. I have small woods projects, things that I want to show you, things I have left undone. At least another wild tea video. And I think I've finally tuned in my overnight gear. One of the reasons you don't see me camp out too often, solo or group camping out in the woods, is because as I aged, I discovered that my body didn't like laying on the ground too much. And I have yet to adapt well to a hammock. That's what I really want to do, is I want to get a proper hammock system, because if you're looking around here, there's nothing right here that is flat enough to lie on. And that's true of most of the woods I go in. But I can always find 2 trees. So I do want to dial in my hammock, but I haven't been able to do that yet. But I have dialed in my ground system. Cost me a few dollars, but it's something now that I can get a good, comfortable night's sleep. I'll show you that coming up soon. Makes a huge difference. I mean, you're going to be up a few times during the night anyway, but you know, when you've done the damage to your body like I have, like both my shoulders and my back, my knees and everything else, and I think I'm 60, I deserve to be comfortable in the woods. It's all about getting a good night's sleep. You know, you might enjoy the day, but if you stay the night, the next day, and you don't get a good night's sleep, the next day is not going to be quite so enjoyable. What a perfect time of the year to try it out. Now, it hasn't gotten down to freezing yet, but it's been pretty close. We've had a couple of frosts. Now, last couple of nights it's been up 12, 13 degrees overnight, and that's warm, but you know, pretty soon it'll be down freezing. My system will carry me well. Yeah, I'll show you that in an upcoming video. I'm quite excited about that. I'm hoping to get together with a few more of the guys from the Nova Scotia Bushcraft or other friends I have and get out. As you know, I'm out almost always just by myself, at least in these woods. But you know, if you have anything that you'd like me to do, anything you'd like me to show, any suggestions for videos, I'm open to suggestions. I'm going to sit and enjoy my coffee. It's mid to late afternoon. The wind and the leaves, so they don't put me to sleep. I soon have to pack up and head back. But not yet. Not yet. Alright, I'll talk to you in a little bit. So I'm up on the Fox Lake look-off, and anybody who's familiar with this area, have been here before, will recognize that structure over there. It's just a, well, it's a structure of quite large size logs in a teepee formation. I don't think anybody actually stayed in it as a teepee. Well, maybe they have, if any of my viewers know. But it is one of those iconic things that when people come up here, they like to take pictures, selfies in it. We're looking down the length of Fox Lake from where at least from what I can see of it. I apologize now for the wind noise. I'm up quite high on a bluff, and the north wind is on my back. That's why I haven't turned to face it. I just wanted to show you a little bit of the color up here in the lake. I'm going to turn into the wind so you can see a little bit of the color. Okay, back on the trail. So it occurs to me, as you walk through the woods, if you're really enjoying yourself, probably the last thing on your mind, or at least the last thing on my mind, is my camera. You know, stopping to get video clips. Unless I consciously make an effort, I sometimes bypass some of the best opportunities. And I think I did that quite a few times today. And one of the things I missed showing you was wintergreen berries. Now, in an earlier video, I talked about wintergreen as a tea. And I think I probably mentioned the berries, but it was a little early when I was out then for the berries to be out. But, get down on my old knees. So here we have wintergreen. And what you see is the berries hang from underneath. Now, there's not a lot of them around because, quite honestly, they're in competition with all the small animals of the woods. But, if you do find a few, what a treat. It's a nibble. Now, you're not going to make a meal out of these. Obviously, I couldn't collect enough to make a meal out of, or get any real energy from. But what I am going to get is some intense flavor. So, if you enjoy that wintergreen taste, and if you have tried making tea from the wintergreen leaves, you can see that's pretty much all the berries right here. There's more wintergreen plants around, but not too many with berries. Actually, I don't see any with berries right now. So it's not a juicy or especially sweet berry. It is a bit mealy, but what it is quite strong in the wintergreen flavor. So, a little freshen up for your breath along the trail. But get out and find them before they're gone. Pretty soon the snow is going to cover them up, or the animals will have eaten them all. Nice little treat. I'm just going to look around to see if I can get a few more. Almost like brushing my teeth after my dinner. Oh, great flavor. Okay, I'll keep looking. If I find anything else to show you, I'll turn the camera back on. He knows I'm here, but he does not care. Too busy getting those calories in before it does start to get cold here. Oh, sorry. Alright, buddy. I'll leave you to it. So another little trail nibble you may find is partridge berry. And it probably has different names in different areas, but here it's like a vine that grows along the ground. Kind of a unique berry. Looks like two little stamens, or a double-headed berry, double calyx. Same thing, mealy, or same as the wintergreen, mealy. A little sweeter maybe, but does not have the wintergreen flavor. See if I can really get a plant out here. So the berry grows between two leaves, very close to the ground. Small dark green leaves, lighter green underside. There, I think that's what I can do to show you. And another little trail nibble. Also something that the animals like, and I was just lucky enough to find a few. Alright, keep moving. What a great day it's been. It really has. And I know I've said that probably half a dozen times today, but this has been just one of those special days. You know, I guess every day in the wood is special, but some days the weather cooperates, everything else cooperates, and it just turns out to be one of those days that you know you're going to remember for a long time. It's the motivation for coming back out again and again. Maybe it's something about this time of year. Well, actually, I know it's this time of year that makes it special. And if I can encourage you to get out this time of year, right now, wherever you are, and enjoy the fall, and hopefully you'll keep coming out all winter long, because there's something new to do all winter long. Just a matter of preparing yourself for it, that's all. It's late afternoon. You can probably see the sun is off to my left shoulder. It's just at the top of the trees. A little while, another hour before it gets really dark. Not even dark, but you know what I mean, darker in the woods before the sun is down below the edge of the trees. I have about half hour to get out, so that's great. But I thought I'd stop and say goodbye for the video, unless of course I come across something else. But encourage you to get out, encourage you to take that path less traveled. It'll make all the difference. Bye for now.